So the astrology of the week of 16 May 2022 to 22 May 2022, that's a lot of twos. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about the numerology in this video, but this week is really a recovery week because we start the week early in the hours here in Central Europe with one of the most difficult transits of 2022, which is a very challenged lunar eclipse in Scorpio, and that will determine the energy and the vibe of this week as we recover from this very, very difficult eclipse energy, and we get the sun into Gemini towards the end of the week, which should change the flavor a bit and kind of reset our tables to a certain extent. So let's jump in here. Let's just dive right into the aspects, into the charts, into everything that I do here every week. My name's S.J. Anderson. Welcome here. Thanks for coming to my channel. Thanks for listening to me talk about the astrology. I hope, and every week I try to give some valuable information, something you can take with you just to contemplate the energies of the sky, the symbolic astro matrix, as we interface with that in our own realities collectively, and then interpersonally, and then internally. And that's one thing I just want to say right at the outset. I mean, astrological symbols are one information piece in the teeming reality that is life, right? There's all kinds of knowledges. There's astrological knowledge, intuitive knowledge, scientific knowledge, knowledge of various, parts of society. And if you're going to build a house, you need technical knowledge. So there's all kinds of knowledge. And astrological knowledge is not a substitute. It doesn't replace other knowledges, and it shouldn't, in my view, crowd out our life and the life experience that we're having. And so sometimes it's good to just set it aside. And I often do this when I'm thinking about my life. I just say, okay, let me set the astrology aside, and then I can vision and plan independent of the astrology. And then the astrology comes back in and is layered over these other ways that other choices that I've decided to make based on other information. Now, astrology certainly is important, and it becomes sometimes hard to disambiguate where the astrology ends and where the other things begin. But I just say this because I'm going to talk about a really difficult eclipse in this video. And what if you're doing well this weekend? Well, great. Forget the eclipse. Forget this energy. And enjoy your weekend and enjoy your week, and congratulations that you're having some cool stuff go down. That's what eclipses can do. They can bring these punctuations, moments of intensity or intensification of our lives. So enjoy it. And maybe there could be reasons why, but it doesn't even matter. Just enjoy life going well, okay? And so the astrology, we can't let it take us down if life is going really, really good, even with a symbolically difficult moment. So, okay, I just wanted to say that to get in the outset. Let's come in here the week. My three themes this week. One will be a solar eclipse in Scorpio. It comes at 6 a.m. in Central Europe where I am. That will be right after midnight on the East Coast in America. It's going to be exact. And you will have had it on Sunday for people like in Los Angeles or in Australia even. No, they will be squarely in Monday. But this was one of the things about doing the weekly astrology videos. Like, I could have chosen to talk about this last week, and it probably would have been a good idea. I did there at the end of my last video when I pulled the card, the Page of Cups, to talk about it a little bit, but I could have done a full breakdown. I know some of my colleagues have been breaking this down. I'm kind of coming in here right at the end when the solar eclipse is basically going to begin here, So if you're watching this video, just know the energies I describe of this eclipse. Maybe it will help you process what happened this last weekend. If you're watching this video later in the week, I know sometimes people watch it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, even later than that. But it may help you process and kind of do some looking back over what you've been going through over the weekend and this Monday moment. And eclipses, this is the thing, they can stick around. So there's all kinds of layers of when the eclipse energy ends. The first moment it may end is when the moon enters Sagittarius. You can see that. We'll talk about that this week. Now the moon is out of the sign where it was eclipsed. But really, you want to wait until that new moon in Gemini, where it will be fully seeded by the sun for a new lunar month, a new lunation cycle, right? A new syzygy that is the kickoff of the lunation. That is to say, the lunation cycle, the lunar month. So that's really when we can say we have a fresh moon, because that solar-lunar relationship is so central. And I might even say a new moon, if you want to talk about the lunation cycle being how we might define a full cycle of the moon. It gets seeded, and that'll be, let's see, the date of that Gemini new moon, I don't have it up here, but it's probably late May, I think is when that happens. Late May, early June, and the exact date has escaped me. That'll be a nice time, because it'll be the first syzygy post-eclipse season to kind of seed the moon into this new cycle. So let me come back. First story is this solar eclipse in Scorpio, one of the more intensely challenging transits of the year, and it requires surrender. I've been doing a lot of surrender. I've been kind of, it's been active for me in my chart, and so just rolling with it. It helps me understand what's happening in the astrology, so I can kind of process and move through the house topics is what I like. What are the house topics where the eclipse is happening for you? And are there planets there near the eclipse? What houses do they rule? Those are the fundamental qualities of how I would like to interpret an eclipse. There's other ways too that are really important, but just get a list of houses that are going to be activated via rulership or by direct, by host. And those are the themes that you can think about and ask yourself what's happening in your life as it relates to those themes. So. Okay, let me keep going here. A Sagittarius moon. This is the second transit of the theme of this week. A Sagittarius moon helps revive us post-eclipse, and it's the first fire moon with Jupiter in Aries. So this is what I'm looking at. Now that Jupiter is in Aries with Venus, we have both benefics and fire signs. The moon is the great activator of the sky, the great just trigger as it moves through. Every 28 days, a new lunation. Every 28 days, a new lunation. Get about 12 point, I think, what is it, 5.3? I think it is, or is it 12.35? But that's how many lunations there are per year. And that's where we get the number 12 from, actually, is that the 12 little over 12 lunations, you just round down, and now you have this beautiful number 12. And then you can start building calendars out of that. So 36 degrees, 360 degrees is divisible by 12. 30 times 12 is 360. No, sorry. 30 times 12 is 360, yes. And so that's where you start seeing how the ancients were constructing models, mathematical models of reality, using the sun and the moon, the solar-lunar relationship. And this is why eclipses are so important. Because the sun and the moon eclipse when you have their paths crossing, the ecliptic and then the lunar ecliptic, or the lunar path. Those are the nodes, the lunar nodes, and when you have syzygies near those nodes, you get the eclipses. So our whole reality in a way is based on the sun and the moon and their relationships. That's the kind of secret of reality. And so let me come back. I kind of went off on something unrelated to the second point, but we get this nice Sagittarius fire moon. It's going to activate the benefics in Aries as we're coming back and needing some reviving post this kind of draining eclipse. And then, but it's still in the eclipse energy. So, this is still eclipsy, but it's recovery. We're winding down. We're coming down. It's like if you've done a drug or I always talk about psychedelics because I haven't done them in many, many years, but I've done a lot of psychedelics and they're an important part of my life and development. But you peak, they call it when you peak during a psychedelic trip, and then you start coming down. You still may be feeling the psychedelic and the effects of it, but it's getting less and less and less. And that's what this week really is the come down from the peak of the trip, which was really this last week. The land between eclipses, the solar eclipse in Taurus, the lunar eclipse in Scorpio. And now we're going to come down. And it's just good to mention, and so this fire moon is a good come down moment, a good come down transit. And it's good to mention while we're here, we're going to have to gear up, okay? We've got another eclipse season in October and November in these same parts of the sky, square Saturn, okay? So this is only round one. And it's just good to get your mind around that. Everything we just went through is round one. There will be a round two. So let's come back. The third transit is the sun enters Gemini. And that Sagittarius moon, by the way, that's going to be start at 13:50 on Monday. The moon enters Sagittarius, so the same day as the eclipse, hours after the eclipse. And then it leaves Sagittarius on Wednesday at 1401. And so you'll have that nice Tuesday, might be the fire sign Mars's day, to get that fire moon going. And our fire parts of our charts can get kickstarted with that period. And then this final transit, third, Sun enters Gemini, 21 May 2022, 3:22, so early in the morning there on Saturday. So that's up for kind of a cool weekend. I think this Sun has some unique relationships right now to the other planets that makes me really excited about Gemini season. I'm a huge Gemini fan, with some special people in my life are Geminis. Always have a lot of Gemini suns in my life. My dad, of course, is the main one. So I always like this, and I think this Gemini season will be particularly unique. We'll break down the charts here. And then what else do I have? That's it. So those are the main transits here. I say opens up games, business, and communication themes for the late spring. That's what I wrote here about the Sun and Gemini. So let's go, let's move. Let's break down these charts one by one. I don't want to get too bogged down here. I mean, honestly, I could probably just end the video right here. And I may start making a lot shorter videos. I think I'm gonna turn and upgrade, or just turn my focus to kind of doing the YouTube thing. Short videos, better edited videos, and just get out a little bit more content. I like YouTube, I like making videos. But the kind of free forum, just talking a lot for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, that's cool too. And you sometimes get more that way. But we'll see. I mean, that little short summary of the week anyhow, I'm not going to talk through my ideas here. Save you from that. I'll save you from that. But this is what happens with eclipse season. We kind of think about changing things and what needs to go, what needs to come in that's new. So I'm deep in that process myself. But let's come back here. First chart, this is the eclipse chart. Okay, it happens 6:14, Monday morning. Very early, kicks off our week here in Central Europe with this early morning eclipse. And so I'm just going to list the major things here. Why this is, I say earlier, this is some of the most difficult, challenging energy of the year. The moon is in Scorpio, so it's in its fall. And Scorpio moons are one of the keywords, major keywords. There's many, but discomfort. The body is the physical comfort. It's the mother, the womb, the nourishment, the nurturing, and the physical body. And when that moon has to filter through a very charged martial energy, what is Mars? Breakaway, destruction, fighting, separation, sever. Mars, our bodies don't want that, okay? I want to be under the warm covers with my 3 pillows or whatever it is you like. That's what we want. We don't want to have to be woken up in the middle of the night because of some kind of crisis. That's not good for the body. So you get this Mars-Moon combination, and discomfort is going to be my key word. Second thing, why this is very tough, just from the astrological perspective, Saturn squares the moon very, very closely. Look at this. The moon will be eclipsed at 25 degrees, 17 degree minutes. Saturn is 24 degrees, 56 degree minutes. I mean, that's less than half a degree between this square between Saturn and the moon. And of course, anytime you have a full moon, Saturn makes an overcoming square exactly to the sun in this chart. And so you're looking at a T-square, what we call in astrology a T-square, 2 planets in opposition, and then one that's the planet that's squaring both from a 90 degree relationship. And this is a rough T-square. Let's just be real. This is a rough T-square. Saturn still in Aquarius. What I have here is that 2020's limitations are still unfolding. I love Saturn. I do love Saturn. Well, I acknowledge its power, and I've acknowledged what the difficulties that have been a part of my ongoing relationship with Saturn. But I do respect it greatly. And one of the things as an astrologer that I love about Saturn is that its transits take so long. And so we're dealing with themes that have been emergent for a while. And so I like to think about, when I see faster moving planets aspecting Saturn, what I like to think about is the story of Saturn in a sign, that those themes will now be a part of a configuration that's maybe a more temporary configuration. So for example, 2020's limitations are still unfolding. That's what I have written here. Think about when Saturn came into Aquarius, March 2020, all right? What happened in the world? Well, we know what happened in the world. The crazy changes that no one had ever seen in our lives in terms of, the crises we've been living through and the collective response to those crises. It's like nothing we had ever lived through, okay? Those things are still unfolding. We're not through with the triggers that emerged in 2020. And so we obviously have borders are changed and altered. I was just messaging with some astro friends of mine about how some countries in Europe, where I am, are wide open, no restrictions whatsoever. Some still have a lot of restrictions. And there's talk of, we're in the seasonal warm period where respiratory illness is less generally. But what happens this fall? I don't think we're out of this story of Saturn and Aquarius and the things it brought on the collective. And so it's to keep in mind, Saturn will not leave Aquarius until March 2023. I'm more optimistic about next spring and summer to being maybe kind of finally done with these crises, particularly the health crises that were emergent. So keep that in mind as you're out there navigating this summer and into the fall. We're still in this moment where we're having to navigate the health crisis. So let me just come back here. And by the way, I don't want to go deeply into conversations. That's why I try to keep the words at least a little high level here, because I know the algorithm, I don't know how it's going to treat if this becomes some kind of conversation where it's like explicitly addressing things that, are, I guess, algorithms might not want to let this astrological video run loose if I'm kind of saying those keywords. That's my fear, at least. I've seen other people having on YouTube, maybe having their videos treated differently with clear expressions of those maybe controversial at times keywords, because we know this has been a controversial thing, right? You've had people there's all kinds of debates about it. I'll just leave it at that. So let me just come back though. I think with this eclipse, this is my main point here. This is an eclipse, a moment of punctuation, a moment of realness, a moment of fate emerging, and a moment of beginnings and endings and revelations. This eclipse might include revelations around the ongoing unfoldment of Saturn's time in Aquarius. So and I've already seen it with this whole eclipse season. Look at just punch in news and read the news. There's talk of, emergent viruses, just to be clear. That's emerging. Those things are emerging right now. And so that's why I'm saying this story isn't over, because it's still really strongly in the public consciousness, and in terms of the news cycle and in terms of just the testing and everything. It's back basically right now. And so anyhow, again, I'm hesitant to just dive in and show you all the news articles and everything. It's just not kind of what I want to do here. It's not the point. The point would be for you to kind of think about it, and maybe you to go research. And what I'm saying here might be an impetus or a trigger for you to dive into what I'm saying. But okay, let me come back here. And the other part of that, it's not just the mundane astrology, all right? It's your personal life. What happened in March 2020? All the changes that were wrought by Saturn and Jupiter and Aquarius, that's still ongoing for your story and your chart. And that's maybe what I would be more inclined to explore. Obviously with clients I do, but in this moment, how's your Aquarius house, whole sign house, and what's happening there that's been ongoing in the last couple of years. That's really where I would say this eclipse season can bring those themes into sharper focus. Moon close to Ketu, very close. Ketu, the south node, is a point of asceticism. They say it drains power. So this is from Dorotheus, right? People have read a couple of lines in Dorotheus's treatment on electional astrology and made this whole idea about the south node can drain the power and the north node expands the power. If you want to go there, I think I like the Vedic models a little bit better, the idea of the asceticism that Ketu can bring. It fits with draining, right? Ascetics are turning away from reality. And so I just wonder about decreasing in asceticism in this moment for you, and really turning inward, protecting yourself, going into your bed, getting under the covers, if you need to. Someone was just tweeting about the physical. I've seen actually several tweets in the last few days about the physical effects of a lunar eclipse, particularly for people that might have planets of vitality or points of vitality in Scorpio. If you're feeling symptoms, this is part of this ascetic or decrease. How do you decrease symptoms? Well, rest is often a big part of it. And you may want to do that. I'm going to go do that. I've been doing a lot of that, but I'm going to hope to do more of that. I'll be resting during the actual eclipse. I will be asleep, I hope. And so that's perfect. Sleep is the great repairer of the internal organs. So that's my plan. So let me just come back here. This is a difficult energy, though. Asceticism is not an easy energy. It's people saying, I don't believe the world, right? The world is a lie. And so I will just turn inward. Let my beard grow long, let my hair grow long, and just turn inward. That's kind of the classic archetype of the ascetic. The hermit in the tarot card, right? Holding the lamp and walking alone in the long robes and the long beard, the Rider-Waite-Smith depiction. That is, part of, I think, the energy here. And that could be potentially a challenge, especially if you have obligations in your life. People need you, or groups or people, come do this, come play, come do this, come do that. This is a time for maybe draining an asceticism. So those are the three reasons why there's discomfort potentially with this eclipse. What I want to go to next is this next slide. The real opportunity here, in every chart, where's the kind of best, strongest configuration that can provide us opportunity? Well, you have Mars trining. So the ruler of Scorpio is Mars. And this is Astro 101. It's the simple but powerful way that ancient astrology can function. And it's the most, I think it's probably the most significant piece for any delineation, in my view, is what is the domicile ruler of a planet, okay? And what house and what sign is that domicile ruler in? And then what is the relationship between those two signs, okay? And then secondly, maybe even more important, most important, or as important, is what's the term ruler? So this is Saturn is the term ruler of the moon, and Mars is the domicile ruler, and they both make very close aspects to this moon. So this moon there's ultimately some protection here for this moon, but it's not easy. The moon will have to defer to Saturn's structure and coldness and limitation, and will have to defer to this Mars in Pisces that is very powerful in Pisces. You can look at the point system of solar fire. This is a day chart. So you're not going to see the triplicity power of Mars in Pisces because the sun is above the horizon here in the moment of the eclipse where I am. But if you are in New York City, you will have more points there for the triplicity rulership of Mars. And so you add 3 points, you are getting a +5 Mars in this chart. I think it should be more, sorry, it's a +6 Mars according to this point system, which is stronger than if Mars only was in Aries, right? These degrees of Pisces are more powerful than Mars will be in Aries at nighttime, these later degrees where it's in its Egyptian terms and in its face. So it's the matrix, the symbolic matrix that is astrology is communicating to us something here. Mars, force, severance, action, direction, power, breaking free, even quarreling. That is supported during this eclipse. And then it's configured extremely close to the moon, and so what I have here is wading through the unknown because Mars is also so close to Neptune. You don't even really need Neptune actually in this chart because Pisces itself is Neptunian. It's a mutable water sign. You're going through changing water. I have no idea what's going on, right? The confusions that come from the interstates being washed away. It's like, have you been in a car wash? You've gone through a car wash and you're in the car. It's kind of terrifying. There's a machine. You're powerless. You can't open the car. It's just the windows are covered in water and soap. And then when you get out the other side, you change, right? You have the new car. That may be the Aries, and then you're driving and going. But Mars right now is deep in this kind of wash. But I like that we have it there because it means we can kind of, I think what Mars is doing is what I have here, wading is moving. If you're wading, I believe it implies movement. You're kind of walking slowly through water. Let me get the exact definition of to wade. It's not a process of being still, a static process. Wading, I believe, and let me just get this up here. If I'm wrong about it, I would pick a different word. But to walk in water, yeah, it's walking. It's walking. When you're partially immersed, you're still walking when you wade through water. And so this Mars is saying, yes, it's confusing. Yes, we're in the car wash, but we can still kind of either be walking now or getting ready Mars comes into Aries 24 May, and then we're going to get back to like real active and movement. Look, let me just be very clear right now. I think this is a great place to do it. After this eclipse is some of the best astrology of the year. I think I've probably already talked about it. I'm going to say it again. Of all year, because Mercury will be direct at some point and re-enter Gemini. Mars will be in Aries. Venus will be in Taurus. The Sun will be in Gemini and then Cancer for that. And you do not have no more eclipses, no more Mars-Saturn square, which will come when Mars enters Taurus on 5 July, and then climaxes on 1 August when Mars squares Saturn with the North Node. And so basically until about 5 July and starting this week after the eclipse, like go out and do your stuff, go travel. I've got friends out there that are going to be traveling. I'm going to do a little bit of traveling during this time. Just going to go out and explore a little bit. Like this is the time I think with peak enjoyment for 2022 to really get out there and do things and prepare. This is the other thing I want to impart on you. We've got a difficult eclipse season, October, November. We have those Saturn-Mars square in August, in late July and August. And then when Mars enters Gemini on 20 August, we have the beginning of a long Mars retrograde. So there's just much more difficult astrology, and I think collectively difficult astrology, which I'm not going to go into here, but there's all kinds of mundane astrological indicators that this year could get really rough. So enjoy June, late May, June, early July. That's my message to you. Enjoy it, enjoy it, enjoy it. Okay, so let me come back here. Mars is strong in Pisces during this eclipse, the idea of being led by belief in the unseen. So we're wading through a water. When you're halfway submerged in water, especially like swampy water, you can't even see what's going on down there. You kind of have to feel with your feet. If you've ever been in a river walking without shoes, I have. Growing up in Texas, we had rivers all over my hometown. We used to go playing and fishing and all that. We'd walk through water. You have to be careful. You can't just blast through it. You have to. You can move, but you have to kind of take your time and step and sort of have a faith. I mean, swimming through across a river. I remember it took me a while. I was afraid what's under that water, and you get used to that fear, and you just have to trust that there's nothing that's going to bite you. We had moccasins, water moccasins, which are these swimming snakes. And you just, all right, hope there's no water moccasins. You just hope you take blind faith, but continue that movement through the water. So that's the kind of message here symbolically of this eclipse, that we can kind of keep going, have some trust, and that we may be being led here by unseen forces. And I've been using the Bible here. Okay, just to be clear, I'm not a Bible person. I don't have it around, and my brand of Christianity, I love the Christian tradition, but it's not like I'm probably kind of like a Gnostic Buddhist or something. That might be if you want to know exactly what my beliefs are. I don't really identify as anything, a human, but I'm really influenced by a kind of Vedic, Gnostic / Buddhist, kind of a syncretic 21st century astrological. You might even throw that in. But I grew up around the Bible. Not wasn't like my dad was a preacher or something, but people around me and where I'm from, and near Austin, in Austin and in the surrounding areas, a lot of Bible worship. People reading from the Bible. Anyhow, there's a verse here. It's about evidence of things unseen, and I don't even know where that verse is, but there's something in the Bible where you have evidence of these unseen things, and I think that's kind of what Mars and Pisces can do here, because Mars is a doer, and as you take a step and you're okay, and take another, that's evidence that there's some support now for something that's coming later that we aren't aware of and that we can't see now, and it really may be about Aries and the pileup in Aries is starting in late May, and this awesome June and early July. Okay, let me come back. Let's skip to the next chart. I know I'm going on and on now in this video, but let me just try to blast through this stuff and I'll try to land this plane here. So here we go, May 16th. This is my transit of the week, the Sagittarius moon. I've already talked a lot about it. Now that eclipse season is beginning to lessen, we're settling in for this summer phase. That's just what I went into, this really amazing summer phase. This is that first fire moon with Jupiter in Aries. The next fire moon so it's the moon in Sagittarius with Jupiter in Aries, the first fire moon. But when this moon comes to Aries at the end of May, it will be with both Mars, Jupiter, and Venus. That's next week. That's going to be an extremely powerful moon for our Aries sector, a real jolt of activation. And I just want you to be prepared for that. This fire moon we're increasing into this moment with massive Aries activation. And this might be the first green shoots, or maybe it's coming clarifying now as the moon is building to this moment in next week. But so get moving into the opportunities in the middle part of the year. So everything I just said, I think this is a great moon. We're getting revived after the eclipse, but maybe here on Tuesday you can start getting excited and feeling into what you're going to be doing May, June, July, first half of July, just like I said earlier. So I won't repeat that. I think I was saving that little rant for this slide, but I did it early there. My favorite keyword is passion for the things in the outer, for fire signs. It's passion for things in the outer world. What do we get excited about outside of our homes, outside in the world? Whether that's a group or building or playing or making or any of that stuff. I have projects, goals, visions for action, and putting visions into action. Like what are you passionate about? For me, obviously, I'm passionate about astrology. I love astrology, and that's a huge passion, and now that's my job. So there was an arc for me of passion into career. And maybe you've got something similar, passion into, it doesn't have to be a full-time career, but it could be like a project or something you're making. Whatever you're looking at, what are your goals? How are you engaged actively with that? Fire for life, the inner light, the inner fire, and pushing that out and making that happen in the real world. What gets you going? Where are your fire houses? Maybe a way to examine this idea of passion. Where is that in your chart? So for example, in the example chart I'm looking at here, fire houses are 7th, 3rd, and 11th. The relationship houses are comprised of fire signs in this chart with Libra rising. Maybe this person has a real passion. If this was a nativity, of course it's not, because this is in the future. So this person, whoever's born at this moment, right? Maybe they're going to have a real passion for people and relationships, and they'll be really good at one-on-one and engaging with people in a one-on-one way and having like a community being built up around them. That's the 3rd house, feeling at home in a more localized, kind of relational community. And then, maybe they'll be good at networking in the outer world and bringing kind of larger groups into more interpersonal style communications. That's just a quick delineation, but they may have a passion for that, or a real vibrancy around others and other people. But where are your fire houses? What house trigon do they comprise? And that might give you a way into just at least thinking about this particular Sagittarius moon. Starts Monday, full all Tuesday, and then ends about midday Wednesday. This week, my transit of the week, that Sagittarius moon. All right, let's come back to the final chart. The sun enters Gemini, and I want to just say a little bit about why I'm so pumped about it. Again, after eclipse season, the astrology gets good, or better. It's a big improvement. The sun will not be squared by Saturn. The sun leaves the fixed signs, so you don't have that fixed pile up with Saturn in Aquarius squaring the sun. That's over upon this moment, Saturday morning. And so I love that now we can maybe bring some of our solar self and our solar light into some of these mercurial topics, right? Mercury will take a more important role now as it's the dispositor of the sun. And so Mercury is that final kind of, one of the major planets here during the sun's transit through Gemini. And Mercury's an important planet. I love Mercury. Magic, games, fun, children, playing, movement, all kinds of mercurial things. Writing, thinking, speaking. And so with the sun now not maltreated by Saturn, and then Mercury, so the story of Mercury during the sun's transits through Gemini is that Mercury will station direct on the 3rd. Of June, and then Mercury re-enters Gemini on the 13th of June. So I think that last week of Gemini season with Mercury back in Gemini and the sun there is really what I'm looking for some power, pop, potency, and movement for your life. And I hope you do some fun stuff, maybe even Mercury related during that time. And let me move now to the next slide. The thing I wanted to pay attention to, next week we're going to get a Mercury cazimi, Mercury in the heart of the sun, right at the 0 degree point. And or the first degree, 0 degrees. And I think that can kind of blast us off into Gemini season right away. It may clarify the themes of the month, and that will happen early next week. So this is Saturday. I think the cazimi goes exact Is it this week? I think I may. You know what? I think my preparation for this talk, I may have gotten some of the. I do these filters and searches, and sometimes I don't quite get them here. Yeah, I turned the transits off. Let me put them back on. So I probably missed some of the big transits this week already. Let me just see here the aspects here. We have. Let me just check it out here. Yeah, so I think, look, what I've chosen, I like the choices I made, but this Mercury Cazimi, actually it doesn't happen until next week. But there was a Mars sextile Sun that I missed, and there's a Mercury sextile Jupiter this week that I missed those whole exact aspects, and that's the major stuff that I missed here. So those sextiles, I don't even know if I would have picked those for my transits of the week, actually. Probably wouldn't have, so we're fine here. Let's just take a quick look at those sextiles. I want to go back and just check out how we might delineate those a little bit in the chart here. So Mercury's going to meet Jupiter, and then the Sun will sextile, Mars will sextile, what did I say, the Sun. That happens earlier in the week. And I think I talked plenty about Mars and Pisces during the eclipse, trining the moon. And so that sextile applies also to the Sun, because the moon and the Sun will be in an opposition during the eclipse. So everything I already said about Mars and Pisces, I think, can support this flow of the Sun as it finishes its time in Taurus. And then Jupiter will perfect an aspect to Mercury late in the week here, like in the chart I'm looking at here for Saturday morning. It will have just gone exact, so that's probably later in the week. It's applying there. I would just say with that, I really don't have much to say. I mean, I love a sextile. I think it sets up this relationship, Jupiter and Gemini, Aries and Gemini, this wonderful Aries-Gemini relationship that's going to be around all of Gemini season, with the Sun being the exaltation ruler of Aries in Gemini, and that sextile relationship for those two signs. So I would just say the opportunities that come for the Aries action, those opportunities can take on a real mercurial quality now with the activations in these two signs. You might want to think about the writing, speaking, planning, magic, words. What do I have written down here? Writing, thinking, communication, talking, specific ideas. So maybe not as general, but maybe the more specific applications. With this sextile, it could be a nice flow between the specific and the general, Jupiter and Mercury. But where are words? How are words powerful for you? That's what I think about kids, and so much of games that we play as kids are word-based. I'm living where I am. There's kids everywhere in this little corridor of my city, this little street, it's really not even a street. It's just a kind of one little strip of like a driveway with some apartments around it. And there's so many kids out there. They're always playing, and they're so verbal. They're singing, laughing, talking. It's like the way that they're learning words. Sometimes they get caught. I mean, you were a kid, I was. We get caught up on a phrase, and we go get high over a little bit of a word phrase, or repeat a song. You know, language can be so integrated into the fun and the games and the vivacity, the vivacity, or just the vibrancy, or like the life force in our bodies. You know, if that's strong, we're like talking and dancing and singing, And so Mercury here, that's where I'm looking for these opportunities for really this whole season. Aries, Gemini. And quite frankly, Aries, Gemini becomes really important for the rest of the year, because Mars will be in Gemini for 8 months starting August 20, and Mars is the ruler of Aries. And so everything in our chart that is Aries will be heavily tied into Gemini for most of this year. Much of this year, actually. And maybe I'll check it now. I mean, I guess we have time. Sorry if this is running on too long, but I want to see when the Gemini, and I'll just show you, I'll share here so you can see what I'm doing in Solar Fire. I just want to see when is Gemini empty before Mars gets there. And that's what I like about Solar Fire. You can just move. So there's Mercury comes in, then Venus comes in. And so it's right here. So when it's July 17th, Venus leaves Gemini. July 18th, you'll have this Venus movement into Cancer. And then you won't have Mars entering Gemini until 20 August. So we do have a month with nothing in Gemini while we wait for Mars to enter. But still, that's where we sit now upon the Sun's ingress, or Mercury's in Gemini now. So even now we have Gemini placements in the transiting sky and through March 2023, say for this one little month. So, okay, excuse me, that's my own little astrological rabbit hole. I do think it's highly significant, grounding our action in some of the more mercurial strategies for action. Okay, let me come back here and just go back to the slide, to the PPT. Where are we at? That's it. That was the last slide. I'm going to leave it there, and just quickly pull a card, as I always do at the end here. What's going on with the cartomancy, the tarot? What symbolisms can we glean from it? And let's see here. This is the. I feel like it's a card that we've been having a lot here on this channel. And let me just check it up here. This is going to be it's the 6 of spades. You know, it's such a perfect card for what I just described and what we've been talking about. 6 of spades analysis. In this deck, you see it in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. There's people kind of in a boat and they're paddling away to freedom. In the Thoth deck, the Crowley-Thoth, it is a card called Science, but this is Mercury's decan, the middle decan of Aquarius. So it's power, air, Mercury energy, which is a huge theme this week as Mercury's still retrograde there in Gemini, and then it will Cazimi. Towards the end of the week, it starts getting close by orb, and then next week that Cazimi is exact. So, you know, and then it will rule the sun, and then Mercury comes back into Gemini in 13 June. Like, I think we can start thinking about our analytical prowess, even with stock markets. Maybe they're going to rise up here a little bit before these, you know, difficult transits towards the end of the year. So this might be a time to kind of do your business. This is what I would say, actually. I've been telling people this a lot. Like, these months, May, June, July, are times to get out and kind of rearrange things, do your planning and analysis, and get in to prepare for what could be an epic, chaotic second half of this year. So that's all I'm really say about it. I think it's like our Mercury powers and our air sign powers are very much in focus now, and it underscores these themes that we've already discussed. So I'm going to leave it there. Have an awesome week ahead. That's Weekly Astrology. Take care of yourself, and we will talk very, very soon. Peace out.